Everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is
Can-Am maintenance time.
So unlike most people, we use ours mostly in the fall and in the winter. In the summer, it gets very little use, maybe around the yard to move firewood or whatever else, but it does sit a lot in the summer. So now the hunting season's here, we're gonna be taking some trips and we plow with it in the winter. Now is the time that I'm gonna do my maintenance and my checks to make sure that I'm ready to hit the trails, hopefully problem-free. So come on, let's get right into this video. Let's show you the things that I do for maintenance for my machine, and we'll go through them really quickly. Come on. So a few of the things that I like to start off with the machine is we're going to be checking the air filter today. We're going to be checking the front and rear differential oil. We need to check tire pressure. We need to check all of our lights. We need to check the engine oil. And then we also need to go through the machine and get some of the grease fittings done. Along with that, I'm going to check the engine coolant, all of my brake hoses for cracks or leaks. And I'm also going to check the winch because I use the winch often in the winter for my plow. So the air filter on this 2014 Can-Am Commander 800 is fairly easy to check. You flip up the front little compartment here, and then we're just going to be careful, just try not to get wet. Once we have this cover off like so. The air filter is located right here, 4 clips.
6 clips.
Pull your air filter out and inspect it. Once you've struggled with those finger biter clips, because they are finger biters, the cover is fairly simple to put back in. I struggled with this a little bit when I first got the machine, but we simply slide it in like so. Line up the pegs on the sides. Now before I do the pegs, I'm going to lock the front down while making sure the pegs are lined up. And once I have the front down, that's when I push the pegs down. I just find it easier that way. Next thing I'm going to do is check the air pressure in the tires. Now make sure you check your manufacturer's suggested tire pressure. It will make a big difference in whether or not the machine pulls or left or right. So make sure you get that right, because I have other videos about tire inflation and how it affects the performance of your vehicle. All right, the next super easy check, front headlights, back tail lights. Should be an easy one. We have low beams, high beams, my bar, and I'm just going to go check the back lights. Have our running lights. And we have our brake lights. Check, check, check. So another really important part to check yearly is we're going to check the front differential for seal leaks, both on this side and the opposite side. We'll check the pinion seal for a seal leak. We're just looking to see if it's wet around the seals. Then we know we might have a problem there. And then we're also going to check the front differential oil. Now, I just did the differential oil in the spring, and we haven't used it all summer, so I know that both diffs are A-okay. All right, so we're coming into here, and we're going to be checking our axle seals right here, checking our axle boots, making sure there's no tears. We can inspect all of our brake lines while we're up here. It's another thing I like to do, to check my inner tie rod boot, that you see back there. And to check the fill level on this machine, the plug is right there. I don't know if you can see that or not. Hoping you can. I'll put an arrow in it here post-production. So you can see, checking the hoses. Now, there are also other items that we have to attend to up front here, and that is our grease fittings. So if we look over here, we're going to see we have grease fittings on the top of the control arm there, and you pump grease until it comes out over there and there. Same thing at the bottom, there's a grease fitting on this side, and there's a grease fitting over there on the far side. And we're going to check, like I said, over here too, we're going to check all of our joints, everything we have there. We're going to do that both the front and the rear. And then, once all that's checked on both sides, then we can move on to other stuff like checking for play, checking the fluid levels. Now another place to check the fluid level for this particular model is up here We have our orange coolant, which is like a Dexco coolant for this Can-Am. So we always want to make sure that that bottle's got some coolant in there as well. And we're going to check pretty well everything we can. So another really important thing to check is the actual engine oil, which the dipstick can be located under the seat. So we will remove our seat. And now that the seat's out, now we have access to our engine fill dipstick, and we're going to check that right now. Inspecting the seal. Make sure it looks good and it's a one piece. I don't know if you guys can see that, but as you can see right there, right at the max mark. Now the oil change on this was done probably at the end of last winter, I believe it was. It was early spring. So it hasn't had much use since, so I think we are good for the oil. It's full. All right, let's get our seat back in and let's get to the rest of the stuff. Actually, I lied. I'm not going to put the seat back in because I'm going to show you guys probably a very commonly overlooked maintenance item with these machines, and that is the grease fittings that are on the drive shafts. There are grease fittings for the front drive shaft and the rear drive shaft. Those are very important if you don't want to be replacing very expensive U-joints for these bikes. And not only to mention, they're a real pain in the butt. Okay, so we've got the back of the bike opened up here. Now, a very important part of all this, let's get in here and see. So there's our U-joint right here. Right there, that's the U-joint. And on the U-joint, if you spin the shaft, you will see that there is a grease fitting. Let me get you down here. There's a grease fitting right there. And then if we look up over here, up on the front, there's another one up front. Now to get to that one, you're gonna have to remove the seat and the side panels. And let me just get you up here real quick. So when we come back around in here and we're inside the machine, when you remove this panel, that side panel, you can access that grease fitting straight through here, because the shaft runs along inside, and then you have access to that fitting. Now again, that one is a real pain. That one's a real pain to reach. The front one is not as bad. That one's a little bit of a pain, but very important maintenance tip there. Has to be done yearly, at least yearly. Fender hood, front end right here, guys. Coming down, right down there. There is our other U-joint right there. Also, got to get that grease fitting that's on there. Now that one is a little bit easier to reach than the back one, and very important again to do. And don't forget, like I mentioned earlier, that grease fitting up there. One on each lower arm there. We're inspecting our springs, our coolant up there. That's your coolant bottle. Make sure that's full. We've already looked at our headlights. We looked at everything else. Operationally, I think this bike's going to be really good. Last thing I'm going to check right now is my check my winch. So there you have it, guys. Now most of you probably use your bikes in the summer mostly, and they're stored for the winter. Like I said, we use ours for probably a good 9 months out of the year, starting from the early fall all the way through to the winter, end of the winter into the early spring if we go for a nice little mud ride. And that's about it. So I hope you guys found this instructive. If I missed anything, by all means, comment it down below. I'm always here willing to listen to you guys, and I want to learn as well. So if you have an easier way of doing what I just did, let the community know, because we're just here to help one another, and that's why I love you guys.